We are live. Happy Friday. How are
Happy
you?
Friday. Good. How are you?
Very, very good. I got a new puppy, so I'm all crazy right now. His name is Mahi, like Mahi Mahi, and he's nutty. And he's afraid of everything. Literally, he's afraid of everything. So today we have a pretty good topic we wanted to talk about. Trolls. Are they getting you down? So I'm thinking maybe what you can do about it, or how you should feel about it, that type of thing. And then maybe we go to the flip side of that for the people who are like, oh God, I would love to have some trolls. They're not getting enough visibility. So that's where I'm thinking we should go. You want to start?
I guess I'll lead off with if you're not polarizing, because we talked about this before to kind of tie together how we've talked about this in the past or touched on it in the past. If you're not polarizing, if you don't have haters and raving fans, then you're not getting noticed at all.
All right.
Like if you're just middle of the road, then you're not going to get attention. You're not going to get any traction.
That's so funny you brought that up, because I almost was sort of steering away from that, because I think my opinion might be a little polarizing. All right. So what I want to say about that is, like, my personality, I'm such a happy-go-lucky. I'm a positive, 99.9% of the time. I never talk politics, religion, any of that. So I'm like a non kind of polarizing person. And so people have asked me, like, what do you do? Like, how can you still sort of follow this guideline of being polarizing without necessarily going up against? Because when the gurus are talking about it, what they want you to do is go up against the beliefs. Like, for example, in our world, like, of coaching, like, to go up against um like the hustle mentality or something like that, right? I don't think that's that big of a deal, and I might do that, but there aren't enough of those for me to really sort of stand on. So I kind of lean towards, instead of necessarily being polarizing, being very direct about who you're talking to and who you're not talking to. Because although it may not create controversy, it will attract the people you want and repel the people you don't want, if you are speaking to the people that you really want to be speaking to. And so I think for me personally, that's a way more comfortable way to still get the same results. Would you agree or disagree? Like, do you think you absolutely have to be like super polarizing in your topics, or do you think you can just zero in by like who you're talking to or what you're talking about? For example, I might talk a lot about, and you probably too, but I might talk a lot about, when we retire or something like that. So 20 somethings are probably not listening when I'm saying something like that. And that's kind of where I would go with that to get my audience. Or if you were a really religious person and you wanted to talk about religion, that's, almost polarizing, because the people who are not religious or not very, very, very religious might not be attracted to you, even if they are kind of religious. So that type of thing, I think, is a little bit more of the way I would run it, instead of trying to find like those themes that you can go up against. What do you think?
Well, I wasn't thinking in terms of intentional. Oh, getting some echo. I wasn't thinking in terms of being intentionally polarizing and finding topics like politics, religion, that automatically set people ablaze one way or the other. I'm talking about more along the lines
Well, I
of
did
what
the light
you were
one, like the
describing.
hustle mentality. Uh-huh.
Well, just standing your ground, rather than trying to be a people person. Oh well, yeah, yeah, I agree with you, and oh yeah, I agree with you too, and like find your lane and stick to it, regardless of whether people agree or disagree.
Yeah.
So that's what
I,
I'm talking about. I'm not saying like find controversial topics and intentionally go up and try to create conflict. Um, Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, like he's extremely polarized. Sometimes people love him, sometimes hate him. Because there's so a lot of people don't like that as a good message. But again, he's not for everybody. That's polarizing. Howard Stern, a lot of people love him, a lot of people hate him. He has a ton of followers, even people that hate him because like their personal train wreck. I got to see what kind of garbage he's talking about today. That's very polarizing.
so like bringing it back to who we are and what we're all about, like being polarizing for me personally, I think is kind of more about who I want to speak to and how I want to speak to them. And what are some other ways that you think are kind of you know like not as extreme as Howard Stern?
Well, that's kind of what I was saying is find your lane, when we talked about creating your pillars,
Yeah,
stick to your pillars, stick to your guns, stick to the topics you want to. The people that resonate with that are gonna stick with you. The people that don't are gonna go away, and they might leave some hateful comments. So what? Who cares? What other people
I
think of me is none of my business.
exactly. All right, so a lot of times when we talk about trolls, it's not necessarily because you're saying something that somebody doesn't disagree with. Like from everything that like people have commented or whatever, people will trolls will just like are just negative people that notice you once you're visible. And so a lot of times when we are doing all the right things, and not necessarily being polarizing by topic or theme, but staying in our lane like you're saying, which doesn't necessarily cause people to hate you, but a lot of times people just hate your visibility. They just hate that you're there and they just hate that they can see you, kind of thing. And so they'll send you messages like, oh my God, why would you wear those crazy eyelashes? You look like crap. Or, I'm just making fun of myself. But like people would say stuff to somebody, um, negative things to people like in their chats or send them DMs that are very negative. And that can start happening like daily, the bigger you get and the more visible you get. And that's kind of the trolls that I was talking about, not necessarily disagreeing with the things that you say, just kind of negative, grouchy people that conceptually, I think we all know not to listen to them and that their opinion doesn't really matter and all of that. But when, like center pitcher, for example, when you're that size, there are a lot of people seeing you and just making their random horrible comments all the time. Oh, you're so fat. Oh, you're so loud. Oh, you're so, just all the time. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with this is what do you do about that? Even though like intellectually, you should just be ignoring them, but it still kind of gets to you, right?
Yeah, and obviously there's different levels of that. If they're putting profanity on your social media and spewing extreme hate, that's a thing. If it's just disagreeing with you and kind of general, I don't like you, the shirt you're wearing is ugly. Like, all right, like that just reflects on them. I mean, all of it reflects on them, and every comment like that is really it's a reflection of themselves. For the most part, it's sure, but again, if it's too extreme, where it's threatening or profanity or vulgar, anything like that, then that's
You
where
can
the
delete
block
it.
button comes into play.
Yeah, you can delete or block. Absolutely. But so
And report. I mean, if it's that extreme, you can report also and get them.
yeah, definitely. But just the everyday kind of, nastiness. I think from, what I've like encountered of, just speaking to a lot of people who are super visible, it kind of takes a toll on your motivation to create another piece of content, or makes you start second guessing yourself, or makes you um just have like self-esteem kind of issues when you didn't really before, or that kind of thing. And so, like, I think that there's ways that you can sort of, obviously, intellectually, it's on them, it's not on me, I should be just ignoring them. But again, a lot of times it goes past that. So what I wanted to do is kind of give some ideas for anybody that's happening to, like, what are some other ideas besides just, knowing that you shouldn't, even if it is really affecting you. So one of the things I would say is, make sure that you are, like, that you have a really awesome morning routine that includes, affirmations, or includes, something about telling yourself how awesome you are within your daily routine, so that you're always reminding yourself, that you are where you need to be, or that you are doing good, or that you are making an impact, or whatever positive things that you want to kind of hear, like including that. So do you have any other ones that you might suggest for that?
Well, if you look at the context of the comment, what it was, what you did that they posted that to, did you post something about parent, or did you post something about, you know, hustle and grind and working 20 out of the last 20 hours, or, what did you post, and what was the hateful comment, and, just honestly reflect on, is there any truth to that? Which, it can be hard, but it can also be eye opening. Like, is there any truth in what they're saying, or are they just throwing stones? Right. And, if you're doing the best you can, and they're throwing hate, then that's then it's tough on them,
Yes,
because you're doing the best you can.
exactly.
You've got to put up the wall to that one, because all you can do is all you can do. Now, if they're pointing out some shortcoming that you feel vulnerable and feel bad about, then what can you do to fix that, so that vulnerability, that shortcoming, how can you fix that shortcoming or that vulnerability spot? How can you
Yes.
improve? How can you?
Yeah, no. Okay. So I think that there's like two different types of trolls. The ones that are disagreeing with what you're saying, which is where you're kind of going with that. Like, take a look at what you're saying, and is it, in alignment with where you want it to be? Are you totally there? Or is there a way that you could have rephased it or done better the next time, or whatever? Definitely,
Right.
take a check on yourself, because sometimes,
Yep.
criticism can be good. It can make you a better person. It can make you a better communicator, or something like that. So I do love that you kind of brought that up. But I was going for the other trolls that are just miscellaneous, like not about anything you've said or done, or really anything. Just simply, your mama's ugly type, ridiculous, you know, just ridiculous. Those types of trolls that really just get on people's things, and make crazy comments, like about the way they look, or about the way they sound, or you know you're ugly is the only thing I can think of. So that's kind of where I was going, because I think those have a bigger hit on somebody's self-esteem or motivation to keep creating, than the ones where they're really talking about topics. Because if it's a really talking about a topic and you are confident in where you're standing, you really don't care. You know what I mean? A lot of times it
Right.
doesn't hit you the
Well,
same way.
when I post, my goal is for the comments to be on topic, have something to do with that post.
Obviously.
In those times when somebody's just coming with stupid hate, I don't even hesitate to delete those. I don't take it
Yeah.
personally. I don't think twice about it. I just delete it, because if it's not relevant to it doesn't belong.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's a perfect way to do it. And, you know, just deleting it and getting it out of your mind. And for me
Right.
personally,
If
like,
somebody comes onto my post, if somebody comes onto my post and says you're ugly, I'm like, yeah, so what? Delete. See ya.
for, exactly. And for me, I don't see that as that big of a deal. However, I have heard that a lot of people, after consistent day in and day out, day in and day out of people telling you mean things all the time, that it does kind of drag them down. And so
It
that's kind
can,
of,
and that's certainly, yeah, that's certainly understandable. I mean, think about high school, right? It's just one big hate fest in high school, and everybody's throwing shade at everybody else, and right, it's a yeah. um, and
so
that's
what
the
are
problem
some
with
ways
social
to
media.
protect yourself, or what are some ways to keep making the content and keep trying to ignore them? That's kind of where I wanted to go. Like, how do you just,
Well, each time you get hit with one of those negative comments, um, I'm gonna tie this into kind of a real life thing. So I mentioned before back in December I started taking guitar lessons online, self led, so online guitar lessons. And when you first start playing guitar, then you have to press down the strings on the fretboard, and your fingers are really soft. While over time, I now have calluses on my fingertips because I've been playing for 2 months now. It's the same thing with social media and the hate. Is over time you develop calluses, and you've got to, it's going to hurt it, just like those guitar strings hurt at first, but get better. The more your following grows, the more your fans are actually going to defend you against that stuff versus you having to do it yourself.
I love that. Okay, so that was going to be one that I was going to say is creating your fan base of people who you know will stand up for you. I think is very important. And a lot of a lot of coaches, consultants, just what course creators, whatever, a lot of people want their lists to be of only buyers or only, people that are definitely going to buy, and that, it's not necessarily the only people you want, because there are a lot of people who will follow you till the end of the earth and never buy from you but still love you. So having those people around you, on social media, but around you at all times is amazing. Those are the people that will come up and start defending you and, talking back to somebody that makes a crazy comment. So I think cultivating those relationships, maybe doing something um, proactively in your social media where you're cultivating relationships with people who are commenting a lot, positive, are speaking about you in a positive way. Just cultivating a relationship with those people, maybe creating like an ambassador type program for them or something like that, to acknowledge them, to make sure that they feel that you see them and hear them, so that they are louder and louder and they kind of stand up. I think that's a great way. So I would say working, on your morning routine and making sure your mindset's there, creating a positive group of people who will stand beside you. What is another one? That was a good one.
The other one I kind of mentioned before, but I want to bring it back is, stay on topic with your pillars, your 5 pillars. Stay on topic with those pillars of content. Do not intentionally try to be uh, in, cause conflict. Do not intentionally try to be polarizing.
Exactly.
Polarization will come naturally by you staying on topic. But as long as you are speaking from the heart, from your beliefs, from your following morals, not posing, not trying to pretend to be something that you're not, or any of the other games that people do, like the people that pose in front of the rented Ferrari and all that other garbage. Like, don't play games. Just be you. And sure, there's going to be hate, but at least you know your best self.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Another one I would suggest is maybe creating some sort of a list, of all the accomplishments that you do, or a file on your computer of, little clips of the great things. Like if somebody sends you a tweet or a DM or whatever it is that says like, oh my God, you saved my day, you did this, this, and that. All of those positive things, create yourself a folder or a file or, a carousel or whatever it is that you can just kind of go to on that day when somebody's bringing you down, so that you don't get down. You look and say, I've got to continue creating this content, even though, maybe at the moment I don't feel motivated to do it, but because I am making that impact, I am helping so many people and doing what I'm doing. So I think, creating some sort of a document or a place where you store all the positive things, comments, that would negate anything that somebody negative says. I think that would be a great thing to do. Also, I would say a lot of times our friends and family are not very understanding of what we do. So having a coach, a consultant, having a group of people who understand what you're going through, something along those lines, one of those or all of those, I think is another great way to keep you on track, knowing that other people are also kind of going through the same thing, and that, you are awesome and amazing and other people see you as that.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
All right, wrap it up. What do you think? Action.
So, biggest thing is be your best self, be authentic, speak from the heart, stick to your content pillars,
100%. And then on the flip
and
side of that,
delete the hate. Delete the hate that's not relevant. Delete the hate that's not relevant.
agreed. And then on the flip side of that, I would say create an environment around you that boosts you when you're not feeling it, that, brings you up when you're feeling down, that, you have there that supports you when those trolls are kind of getting to you.
Yep.
All right.
Exactly.
Have an amazing Friday, an awesome weekend, and we will see you same time, same place next week. Do you
Have a
want to
great
see my
weekend.
puppy? You want to see my puppy before we hang out?
Sure.
I can't bring him. He's sleeping underneath my chair. Never mind. Next week. All right. We are done here. Have a great day.